Welcome to the Connecticut Judicial Branch Law Library's Self-Represented Parties Information Series. Filling out and filing a financial affidavit short form. In this overview, we will show you the correct way to fill out and file a financial affidavit short form. Financial affidavits are most often used in divorce, separation, and custody cases. The short form is recommended for individuals with a gross annual income and net assets that are less than $75,000. If the total of your gross annual income and net assets is over $75,000, you should use the long form. This overview will focus on the short form only and will not address the long form. The Financial Affidavit Form JD FM 6 Short, which is signed under oath, will ask you to provide the court with information about your income, expenses, debts, and assets. The court will then use the information when deciding fair orders in alimony and child support. The financial affidavit requires you to list your income, expenses, debts, and assets on a weekly basis. If your income or expenses are on some other basis, such as monthly or yearly, you will need to calculate or figure out how much it is for a week. Some words to know. In this overview, an affidavit is a written statement that is sworn to under oath as being true. Income is any money you receive from work, benefits, or through investments. It can include pay and wages from jobs, pensions, public assistance, unemployment compensation, and alimony. Expenses are money that you regularly pay or owe for day-to-day living. These can include rent or mortgage, utilities, food, clothing, transportation, alimony, and child care. A liability is a debt that you owe. These can include bills, loans, and credit cards. An asset is any property of value that you own. These can include real estate, motor vehicles, boats, jewelry, bank and savings accounts, insurance, and investments. The court rules on financial affidavits can be found in the Connecticut Practice Book at sections 25-30 and 25A-15. You will want to look at these court rules to make sure that you understand the financial affidavit form and file it correctly. The Connecticut Practice Book can be found in any Judicial Branch Law Library and on the Judicial Branch website. To get to the Connecticut Practice Book on the Judicial Branch homepage, click on the Public tab. Click on the link for Court Rules. Click on the link for the current year Connecticut Practice Book. The Connecticut Practice Book is in PDF format. Procedures in family matters and procedures in family support magistrate matters are found in chapters 25 and 25A. In the box at the upper right of the form labeled Docket Number, type the docket number of the case. On the next line, in the box labeled For the Judicial District of, type the judicial district of the court where your case is filed. For example, if your case is in the Hartford court, type Hartford. In the box labeled At Address of Court, type the full address of the court. Include the number, street, city or town, and zip code. In the box below, type the name of your case in the box labeled Name of Case. Be sure to use the full name of the case. In the box labeled Name of Affiant, type your name. Be sure to use your full legal name. For example, if your name is William, type William, not Bill. Next to your name, check the plaintiff box if you are the plaintiff in the case, or the defendant box if you are the defendant. The certification is that you understand that the information you provide on the form must be true to the best of your knowledge. Willfully providing false information can result in sanctions or criminal charges against you. In section Roman numeral 1, The amounts you provide for income are calculated using money received for at least 13 weeks. If your calculations are based on less than 13 weeks or you have no income, please explain why on the line provided. On the next line, the form asks on what basis you are paid: weekly, bi-weekly, or every other week, monthly, semi-monthly, or twice a month, or annually, once a year. Check the box before the basis on which you are paid. Since the form calculates using weekly pay, below this line are instructions on how to multiply and/or divide your pay to determine your weekly pay for filling in the rest of the form. In the section labeled Employer and Address, enter the name of your employer and address on the line labeled Job Number 1. Check the appropriate box to indicate if you receive a salary or wage. Enter your weekly base salary or wage received on the line provided. For example, if you earn $250 a week as your base wage, enter $250 on the line. Salary is usually an annual amount of money paid by an employer in fixed regular payments. Wages are payments paid by the employer for work done, usually defined as a set amount of payment for each hour worked. If you have more than one job, enter the names and addresses of your other employers and your weekly base salary or wage on the lines labeled Job Number 2 and Job Number 3. Total up all weekly base pays from all jobs. Enter this total on the line Total Base Pay from Salary and Wages of All Jobs, or allow the automated form to populate the line for you. For lines B through P, you will enter other weekly income from the source listed. For example, if you receive overtime, enter your weekly income from overtime on the line provided following B, overtime. If you do not receive income from a listed source, skip that line. Once you have completed filling in all the appropriate lines, add up the amounts you have entered on lines B through P and enter this total on line Q, total gross weekly income, monies, and benefits from all sources, or allow the automated form to do it for you. In the line below, you are asked to enter how many hours a week you work. Enter the hours worked per week on the line provided. In the final line of Part 1 of Section 1, you are asked to enter your gross yearly income from prior tax year. You can obtain this information by looking for your adjusted gross income on your tax filing document from the prior year or your W-2 form from the prior year. Immediately below, list and explain any other sources of income or support you receive. In Part 2 of Section 1, Mandatory Deductions, for numbers 1 through 7, enter your average weekly deduction for each job, such as income tax, Social Security, health insurance, and other money deducted from your pay. If you do not have the deduction that is listed, leave the line blank. Again, if your deductions are not weekly, calculate the weekly amount by multiplying or dividing as needed. You will enter the amount in the column for each job, then enter the amount for all jobs in the totals column, or allow the automated form to do it for you. On line 8, add up all the deductions and enter the total mandatory deductions, or allow the automated form to do it for you. For Part 3 of Section 1, subtract your total mandatory deductions, line 8 in Part 2, from your total gross weekly income, monies, and benefits from all sources, line Q in Part 1. Enter the result of this subtraction on the line provided, or allow the automated form to do it for you. This is your net weekly income. For Section Roman numeral 2, you will need to add up your weekly expenses. Weekly expenses are the specific costs you have for items necessary for living, such as rent, utility, groceries, and clothing costs. Do not include things such as credit card payments or other loans not covered in this section. Those types of expenses will be entered later under the Liabilities section. Again, you will need to enter your expenses on a weekly basis. So if an expense is not weekly, you will need to calculate what it would be if it were weekly. For example, if you pay rent on a monthly basis, multiply your rent by 12 to get the yearly cost for rent. Then divide that number by 52 to get the weekly cost for rent. Instructions on how to multiply and/or divide your expenses to determine your weekly expenses are provided on the form. For the rest of section Roman numeral 2, calculate and enter your weekly expenses for each of the expenses listed on the form. If you do not have an expense that is listed, leave the line blank. If you have an expense and you are not currently paying it or someone else is paying it, check the box immediately before the amount of the expense. For expenses you have that are not listed on the form, enter what they are on the line labeled Other and enter the total weekly amount for the expense. These could include condo fees, pet expenses, or religious donations. Add up all the expenses you have indicated in this section. At the very end of section 2, on the line labeled Total Weekly Expenses Not Deducted from Pay, enter this total on the line provided, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Section Roman numeral 3 labeled Liabilities includes all debts that were not included in section 2, Weekly Expenses Not Deducted from Pay. These types of debts can include credit cards, store cards, and installment plan purchases. In the boxes provided, enter the name of the creditor and the type of debt owed. Check the box to indicate if this is a debt that is yours alone or a joint debt with your spouse or another person. In the box for the column labeled Balance Due, enter the amount left on the debt. In the next column, labeled Date Debt Incurred Revolving, enter the date the debt began. In the last column, calculate the weekly payment on the debt. Again, if the debt is not paid weekly, calculate the yearly cost and divide by 52. In the line labeled A, Total Liabilities, add up all the amounts in the Balance Due column and enter it in the box on this line, or allow the automated form to do it for you. In the line labeled B, Total Weekly Liabilities Expenses, add up all the expenses in the weekly payment column and enter it in the box on this line, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Section Roman numeral 4 is labeled Assets. This section of the form asks you to list your assets and calculate their value. It is divided into 8 parts labeled A through H. You will need to fill out the information for each part. If you do not have an asset indicated by the part title, such as Part G, Business Interest Self-Employment, you can skip that part. Part A is for real estate assets. This can include your primary home, a vacation home, or other real property you own. In the line provided, enter the address of the property and check the appropriate box to indicate if it is owned by you alone, S, jointly with your spouse, JTS, or jointly with another person, JTO. Enter the fair market value of the property in column A. In column B, enter the current principal balance of the mortgage. In column C, enter your home equity loan credits or other liens against the property. Enter the equity available for the property in column D, or allow the automated form to do it for you. To calculate this, add columns B and C together, then subtract that total from column A. In the last column, labeled E, enter the value of your share of the property. Add up all the values in column E and enter the total in the box on the line labeled Total Net Value of Real Estate, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Part B is labeled Motor Vehicles. On line 1, in the first column labeled Year, enter the year your car was made. In the columns labeled Make and Model, enter both the make and model of your car. Check the appropriate box to indicate if the car is owned by you alone, S, jointly with your spouse, JTS, or jointly with another person, JTO. Enter the market value of your car in column A, Value. In column B, Loan Balance, enter how much money you still owe on a car loan if you have one. Column C is labeled Equity. If you have a car loan, subtract the amount in column B from column A to determine the car's equity and enter that amount in column C, or allow the automated form to do it for you. If you do not have a car loan, enter the amount from column A into column C. In the last column, labeled D, Value of your Interest, enter the value of your share of the car. If you own more than one car, enter the same information for your other car in the line following. If you have more vehicles, you can list them with the corresponding information on an additional sheet of paper. Add up all the values in column E and enter the total in the box on the line labeled Total Net Value of Motor Vehicles, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Part C is labeled Bank Accounts. This area is for your bank accounts. Do not include accounts that are in your children's names. They will be entered in another section. For all checking accounts, enter the name of the bank, credit union, or financial institution that holds the account. In the next column, labeled Account Number, enter the last 4 digits only of the account number. For your own protection, do not provide the entire account number. Check the appropriate box to indicate if the account is held by you alone, S, jointly with your spouse, JTS, or jointly with another person, JTO. In the column labeled Current Balance Value, enter the current balance or cash value of the account. In the last column labeled Value of Your Interest, enter the value of your share of the account. If you have more than one account, enter the same information for your other accounts in the lines following or on an additional sheet of paper. Fill in all the information for savings and other types of accounts in the lines provided. Add up all the values in the column labeled Value of Your Interest and enter the total in the box on the line labeled Total Net Value of Bank Accounts, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Part D is labeled Stocks, Bonds, Mutual Funds. Here is where you will enter the information for any accounts of this type. Enter the name of the company holding the account in the first column labeled Company. In the next column labeled Account Number, enter the last 4 digits only for the account number. Again, for your own protection, do not enter the entire account number. In the column labeled Listed Beneficiary, list the individuals who are the beneficiaries of the account. In the last column labeled Current Balance Value, enter the current cash value of the account. Fill in all the information for other accounts of this type in the lines provided. Add up all the values in the column labeled Current Balance Value and enter the total in the box on the line labeled Total Net Value of Stocks, Bonds, Mutual Funds, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Part E is where you will enter information regarding life and disability insurance policies. Do not include insurance policies that cover your children. In the first column labeled Name of Insured, enter the name of the individual covered by the policy. Check the appropriate box to indicate if it is a life or disability insurance policy. In the column labeled Company, enter the name of the insurance company that holds the policy. In the column labeled Account Number, enter the last 4 digits only of the policy account number. Remember, for your own protection, do not enter the entire policy account number. In the next column labeled Listed Beneficiary, list the individuals who are the beneficiaries of the policy. In the last column labeled Current Balance Value, enter the current cash value of the policy. Fill in all information for other insurance policies in the lines provided or on an additional sheet of paper if needed. Add up all the values in the column labeled Current Balance Value and enter the total in the box on the line labeled Total Net Value of Insurance, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Part F of this section deals with retirement plans. In the first column of the first line, enter the type of plan, such as pension, 401k, or IRA. In the second column, enter the name of the bank, company, or institution that holds the account. In the column labeled Account Number, enter the last 4 digits only of the account number. Once again, do not enter the entire policy account number. In the column labeled Listed Beneficiary, list the individuals who are the beneficiaries of the account. Next, indicate by checking the correct box if the account is currently receiving payments or not. In the last column labeled Current Balance Value, enter the current cash value of the account. Fill in all information for other retirement type accounts on the lines provided. Add up all the values in the column labeled Current Balance Value and enter the total in the box on the line labeled Total Net Value of Retirement Plans, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Next is Part G, Business Interest Self-Employment. You only need to enter information in this part if you own all or part of a business or if you are self-employed. If neither of these 2 factors apply to you, you can skip this part. In the first column labeled Name of Business, enter the name of the business owned or that you run. In the next column, Percent Owned, enter what percentage of the business is yours. If you are self-employed, you own 100%. In the final column, enter the value of the business. On the bottom line labeled Total Net Value of Business Interest Self-Employment, enter the value of the business or allow the automated form to do it for you. Part H is labeled Other Assets. This is where you will enter any other property or financial assets you have that were not entered in the prior parts of this section. These could include money market accounts, collections of values such as art, coins, jewelry, or equipment. In the first column, identify what the asset is. In the column labeled Current Balance Value, enter the value of the asset. The other 2 columns on the line are for indicating another asset and value. In the box at the bottom labeled Total Net Value of Other Assets, enter the total of all amounts entered in the boxes labeled Current Balance Value, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Part I is labeled Total Net Value All Assets. This is where you will enter the total amount of all assets by entering the total of items from parts A through H, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Section Roman numeral 5, Children's Assets, deals with any financial assets of your child or children, should you have any. These assets can include savings accounts, college funds, trusts, and insurance policies. In the first column, enter the bank or institution holding the account. In the next column, labeled Account Number, enter the last 4 digits only of the policy account number. For your own and your child or children's protection, do not enter the entire policy account number. In the column labeled Listed Beneficiary, list the individual who is to benefit from the account. In the column labeled Person Who Controls the Account, enter the name of the person who controls the account on behalf of the child or children. In the last column, labeled Current Balance Value, enter the current cash value of the account. Do the same in the provided lines for other assets of your child or children. In the line labeled Total Net Value of Children's Asset, enter the total amount for all of the current balance value added together, or allow the automated form to do it for you. Section Roman numeral 6 is for health-related assets, such as medical or dental insurance plans. In the column labeled Company, enter the name of the company which holds the policy. In the next column labeled Name of Insured Person covered by the policy, you will enter the names of all people covered under the policy. This could include your spouse and child or children if it is a family policy. Below the line for entering the policy information, the form asks if you or anyone in your family is covered under the state's Husky Health Insurance coverage. Check the appropriate box before either yes, no, or I don't know. If any family member is covered, enter his or her name on the line provided. Please review all information you have provided on the form for sections Roman numerals 1 through 6 and make sure it is complete and accurate. The form now asks you to disclose any other income, liabilities, or financial assets that were not included in any other section on the form. Use the lines provided to list any such information. You are required to disclose anything else that should be considered by the court when making determinations regarding support or alimony. You will be swearing under oath to the completeness of the information provided and that you are aware that not disclosing information could result in court sanctions or criminal charges. The section of the form labeled Summary asks you to re-enter the information provided earlier on the form. Enter the amount in the space provided for each of the following, or allow the automated form to do it for you. For total net weekly income, re-enter the amount you entered in Part 3 of Section 1, Net Weekly Income. For total weekly expenses and liabilities, add together the totals in total weekly expenses not deducted from pay and total weekly liabilities expenses in Sections 2 and 3. For total cash value of assets, re-enter the amount found in Part I of Section 4, Total Net Value All Assets. For total liabilities, re-enter the amount from Part A in Section 3, Total Liabilities. The certification is where you are swearing to the fact that the information you provided on the form is complete and true to the best of your knowledge. You are also acknowledging that you are aware that hiding or lying about any of your financial information on purpose can result in the court sanctioning you or in criminal charges being filed against you. Enter your full legal name on the line provided and check the box to indicate if you are the plaintiff or defendant. You will also enter your address and telephone number on the provided lines. If you complete this financial affidavit on the computer, print the form by pressing the Print Form button at the bottom of the page. Do not sign and date the form at this time. Take the form to a notary and sign and date it in front of the notary, who will then sign the form indicating they witnessed your signature. Notaries can be found in the Judicial Branch Court Service Centers, town or city clerk's offices, or at most banks. You can also take the unsigned form to the clerk's office and sign and date the form in front of the clerk, who will then sign the form indicating they witnessed your signature. Make copies to send to the other party or parties and one to keep for yourself. File the original signed form with the clerk's office. More help. If you need procedural help or further assistance with filling in the financial affidavit form or any other court form, please visit a court service center. If you need further information on handling your case, please visit a judicial branch law library. This concludes our overview. For more information, please visit a judicial branch law library, a court service center, or the judicial branch website.